Today we're going to look at some nostalgic unicorns on Auto Trader from the brand Citroën. That there's maybe only one left of each of these, and they mean something to me in a very special way. Thank you for joining Totally Car Mad. Let's look at the unicorns. Now this is a little bit of nostalgia for me because I went out car shopping with my dad one day. And Mum told him to go and find a sensible family car. And we went to this Citroën dealer and slammed on the floor as its hydraulic suspension was at rest. Was a left-hand drive Citroën BX. That was a little unusual because I think it was obviously a French import, and the BX hadn't been released in the UK or wasn't available or something at the time. And we saw this thing lowered to the floor, a dashboard like nothing else we'd ever seen. And we just went, yes, that's the thing. So we went home in the left-hand drive BX. And I think eventually it grew on Mum. The comfort, the smoothness, the ride of it was just sensational. So much so that later on, we got a right-hand drive one, and ours was white, just like this one. This is the only one for sale on Auto Trader at the moment. They are probably the last of that quirky generation of Citroëns. Obviously, the hydraulic suspension is something they've been renowned for decades. And this is probably the kind of the last of the non-conformist cars before they went, more mainstream. Look at the steering wheel. Just that one thick spoke there and no spokes around the top. On the dashboard here, these are your indicators. There's one on the right and one on the left. It was supposedly an ergonomic design. Rather than have an indicator stalk, they put a right one on the right and a left one on the left. Really bizarre. But we had so much joy in this car. We used to tow a boat with it, and obviously the hydraulic suspension meant that it towed it, with ease. This one's got a very sporty-looking spoiler at the back. I mean, the fact that the wheels are kind of enclosed harks back to a kind of 1950s American styling. The pull-out blinds in the back window. I mean, the whole thing is just like nothing else really that ever existed on the road. Beautifully thick, comfortable seats. I mean, I remember as a kid, we couldn't afford, to go to Spain or anything on holiday like people did. We would trundle off and explore the north of Scotland or something, and we would have these car driving tours around England and Scotland and Ireland as well. And such great comfort in this car. It just seemed like it had come from outer space at the time. It's so sad to see now that this is literally the only one that you could buy on Auto Trader. They may well be on other sites, Cars and Classics and Piston Heads and places like that, but what a survivor. This is the 1.9 turbo diesel engine. If I remember rightly, they really did shift quite a lot. Look at that, it's got a whole bunch of spares. They're probably quite hard to get hold of now. Yeah, really brings it back to me what a beautiful experience it was. A kind of edgy, boxy styling of the 1980s and 90s, but yeah, something completely out of this world that you'll never see that kind of car built now. Nothing as kind of avant-garde and out there. Maybe the Tesla Cybertruck in some respects, but I don't really want to talk about that piece of poop. The Citroën BX, the only one available on Auto Trader right now, £3,000. What a beauty. Now, when I was young, it was XR2s and XR3s Astra GTEs and things like that, Novas, Escorts. That's what people of my age were getting into for an exciting, fun ride. But when I was kind of hitting the family man stage and buying dad cars, everybody was driving one of these, a Citroën Saxo VTS, the car I missed out on a generation. There is only one Saxo VTS remaining on Auto Trader today, and it looks completely unmolested and original. 86,000 miles for a year 2000. What a hot hatch these were in their day. They were the kind of first car you got into after you'd passed your driving test and you could maybe stretch to the insurance. I test drove one once. I was going to buy it as a daily and it rattled and knocked and clunked all over the place. It had been ragged and what a shame. I always wanted one of these and I was kind of too old to have it as a kid and yeah, and then life moved on. There's one left on Auto Trader. Let's have a look at the numbers on this. 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds, yet almost 35 miles per gallon. Back in 2000, for a little hot hatch, that's pretty special. Any of you have one of these? Do you have a Saxo? Modified? Standard? How was it? Did you love it? Let me know. Here's another Citroën unicorn on Auto Trader. If you do a search for a Citroën Xantia, there is one on Auto Trader. And what a one it is. 40,000 miles. That is incredible. Where has this been hiding? There is one left on Auto Trader and it is low mileage. 2-litre HDI. Oh, this takes me back. I had a Citroën Xantia, albeit was the estate version. I needed a cheap daily car, and because I'd had the kind of love affair with the Citroën BXs that my dad used to have, then I went for the Xantia because it had the same style hydraulic suspension with a little handle that allowed you to adjust the position height of the suspension. I think actually in some ways the estate version may be even better looking than the coupe or saloon, sorry. But it's a car I had when one of my children was at primary school, and we used to pull up outside the school as I dropped him off on my way to work in the morning, and he'd say, "Dad, put the suspension up and down." And we'd sit there and we'd raise the suspension, and his eyes kind of lit up with delight and a big smile across his face. And then we'd drop it right back down into the ground, and he'd get out and I'd lift it back up again. He could see it from the pavement as we put the suspension back into normal position before I drove off. It was such a good car. It never let me down. Citroëns have this reputation for being flaky and things, but this era of French car was peak. They were really good. I had the diesel. It was phenomenal. It picked up really quickly. I think mine was an auto. I don't know. It was just cool in a really weird way. Especially the estate version, we could fit prams and things for their babies in the back and tip runs and everything that you want an estate car to be. But that kind of edge of having the suspension that goes up and down just made it something that my son loved. I mean, it was just like when I first saw the BX. His memories of the Xantia. He still says to me now sometimes, and he's 30. Do you remember the Xantia with the suspension? Of all the crazy cars I've had, and I've had some crazy cars, he remembers the Citroën Xantia with a suspension. This one's not particularly fast, but you wouldn't expect it to be. 41 miles per gallon. It's frugal, but it's the style, it's the memories. There's only one left, and it's a beauty. What do you think of the Citroën Xantia? Let me know. I live in the Isle of Man, and in the Isle of Man you can begin to drive from the age of 16. So on my 16th birthday, my provisional driving license was handed to me as part of my birthday present, and I went out for my first driving lesson with my mom and dad in my mom's car. And she had a Citroën 2CV Dolly in red and white. And there is one of those on Auto Trader. There's also a green and white Dolly. There's some other additions, but one red and white Dolly. Oh my goodness. Does it get any more Citroën quirky French than this? They were the best and the worst car I think I've ever driven. I've never driven anything so quirky, that is for sure. I mean, just look at the looks of that. You don't have to even know what that is, and you know it was built for the French countryside. Ragtop roof that went all the way back. These massive big doors that were about as thick as a piece of cardboard. The windows were kind of split, so part way up it folded up rather than wind down. Part of the window folded up. And what would tend to happen when not driven in the French countryside in the summer, but driven on an Isle of Man coastal road in a high wind, is that the wind would lift up one of the folding windows, say on the passenger side. It would fall back down, and the kind of wind tunnel effect would then make the opposite window fly up in the air. So you got this kind of never-ending loop of windows flapping up from one side to the other to the other. It was just the craziest experience you would ever have in a car. They had a little catch that was supposed to hold them down, but they're invariably very weak, and the wind was much stronger, and you just got this kind of ridiculous elephant ear effect going on. The seats you could literally kind of take out in a couple of minutes. A friend and I think he also had a Dolly that was his mum's, and we were at a hockey training session, and we were a bit exhausted, so we dragged the back seat out of his Dolly and sat beside the pitch in the back seat of his car. That's how absurd these cars are. The gear stick, if you can call it a gear stick, I don't quite know how to describe it, comes out of the dashboard and operates kind of the opposite way around to a normal gearbox. So I don't know if it's got a picture of it here where we can see the bizarre arrangement of the gear. There we go, with the kind of pool ball knob. So that's probably in neutral at the moment, and you pull it sort of down to the bottom left and towards you for first gear. So first gear is kind of where you'd expect maybe second gear to be in a normal car. Second is then kind of you twist the knob to the middle and push it all the way forward, so it feels like it's going to disappear under the dashboard somewhere, and that's second. Third is straight back. Fourth is kind of pull that knob right over towards your knees and push it forward where you'd think third gear would be in a car, and obviously that's where it stopped at fourth gear. Somewhere waggling about there is neutral. I have no idea where reverse is. I can't even remember where reverse is. No synchromesh, I don't think. You can't kind of get it into first gear. So there's no synchromesh certainly on first. So you can't get into first gear without a big if the vehicle is moving at all. So you have to stop dead to get it into first. And that other little kind of umbrella handle thing with a button on is the handbrake. Again, you kind of pull that out and hope that something happens that maybe stops it sort of from rolling until you can get it into gear and help the handbrake that way. You had to rev the absolute pants off it to get it to move at all. It was an experience. Oh, of course, and you've got the flap at the front to give you a little bit more air conditioning as well there. Who needs ice cold aircon when you can just open the flap and flip up some windows around you and tear back that ragtop? Yeah, you don't see headlights like that on a Tesla, do you? Great big eyeballs stuck on with a stalk. That's what we need to see on cars. Big long bonnets that look like the bottom of a rowing boat. That's what car designers need to do. Now you can see her in all her air-conditioned glory with the window folded up into the clipped open position, which obviously it's just waiting to fall down on your arm and then blow back up again with the wind. The rag top nicely curled up and tied back there. I mean, it's glorious, isn't it? These huge rear arches that cover the wheels, these front swoops. I mean, you are never going to see a car like that ever again. Thankfully. But also, what a shame that these cars, they mark an era that has passed and will never return. Simple, held together. Probably one spanner would take the whole car apart. Wings and everything bolted on, doors come off in seconds. I mean, the whole thing is just unique. 0.6 litre engine. The 2CV was, originally around the 2 horsepower, 2 chevaux, 2 horses. I think they've got a little bit more than that. Yes, 29 horses from its 2-cylinder engine. Nobody even dare put a performance figure on it. What do you think of the 2CV, especially in Dolly format? Let me know what you think. When it comes to unicorns in the Citroën lineup, this has got to be the number one. The Citroën DS. Look at the styling on this car. I mean, there is nothing on the road you will ever see that looks like this ever again. Nobody will ever make a car that looks like this. Beautiful. Stunning in every way. Column gear shift. Huge seats. You can probably sit one across the crack between the two. 3 across the front. I mean, it's just... Look at the headrests. Look at the thickness of the back of these seats. Just built with a totally different mindset to the way cars are built now. Let's build something comfortable, usable, beautiful, stylish. Look how tactile everything is. This split between the leather and the cloth here. I mean, that door capping is beautiful. The door handles, the winder handles, the mirror. I mean, it's art on wheels. Look. Look at that huge bench rear seat. I just can't get over those headrests. Those headrests are phenomenal. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't get whiplash in that car. So, what do you think of this? I mean, such a unique car. You've got to love these. An absolute dreamboat. Styling like we'll never see again. Such a shame. What unicorns are still out there today that bring back memories of your childhood or your early car ownership? Let me know in the comments. Let's do another video together soon. Bye.